Dr. N. Sreekumar is an assistant professor of philosophy in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. He is a gold medalist for MA Philosophy from the Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam. He did his MPhil and PhD in philosophy from the Central University of Hyderabad and specializes in the areas of philosophy of language, continental philosophy, and hermeneutics. He has been into the academic profession since 1995 and has taught in Sri Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit, Kaladi, Kerala and BITS Pilani, Rajasthan before joining the IIT Madras in 2003. Dr. Sreekumar has published articles in various journals and has presented papers in national and international seminars. Some of the courses he offers include European Philosophy, Contemporary German Philosophy, Introduction to Indian Philosophy, Philosophical Hermeneutics, Philosophy and Critical Theory, and Philosophy of Language.
Welcome to the UGC lecture series in philosophy on Phenomenology and Existentialism, part 4. We have already seen the major influences on Edmund Husserl in developing phenomenology. Influences from various sources like René Descartes of rationalist school, David Hume of empirist school, Immanuel Kant, Brentano, etc. Now today we will see the following topics. We will have the fundamental objective of phenomenology and its central motive. We will have a brief look on these aspects. Then afterwards we will see the whole concept of philosophy as a rigorous science as it is conceived by Edmund Husserl. This is one very important point, or rather the central assumption behind or the central motive behind constructing the whole system called phenomenology, that Husserl wanted to see philosophy as a foundational discipline once again and as a rigorous science, the science of sciences. We will also see briefly the notion of phenomenon in this lecture, because phenomenon is considered as the basis of knowledge. Now the fundamental objective of phenomenology. Phenomenology, the main objective is to study the phenomena experienced in various acts of consciousness by suspending all consideration of their objective reality or subjective association. Here the terms to be noted are experienced phenomena as experienced in various acts of consciousness. So that is which is immediately given to us, something which we have seen in the last lecture, the emphasis on experiences that are immediately given to us, and how to approach these experiences or this phenomena, that is given here by suspending all considerations of their objective reality or subjective association. So they have to be taken as they are given to us without any presuppositions, and it is based on this central motive that there is a search for certainty, which is there in, we can see that this motive, we find this motive in the philosophy of Descartes, that the absolute certainty. Probably Husserl was influenced by Descartes in conceiving his whole philosophical enterprise as a search for certainty. And then again, as part of this, philosophy as a rigorous science dealing with ideal objects or essences of things originating in the consciousness. These essences, unlike the major object of philosophy, are phenomena, the objects or essences of things originating in consciousness, not somewhere outside in the factual world or anything. They originate in consciousness. Now we will see the whole idea of rigorous science. Philosophy is considered as a rigorous science by Husserl. Before that, what is a science? Science, as philosophers understand it, is a system of knowledge connected by reason. You have various aspects of scientific thinking, and these various aspects and various concepts have to be interrelated rationally. Then it becomes a body of knowledge which we call science. It is a system, and each step in science, when constructing its system, each step is built upon its predecessors in a necessary sequence, and this sequence, as we can see, is a rational sequence. they are causally related with each other, and if you know one, the other one can be either inferred or follows. We will also see that knowledge is all about these various connections in science. Knowledge is nothing but is about the various connections which we make by employing reason. Now we will see again the rigorous connection. We are talking about various connections between various elements to make knowledge. These connections have to be rigorous, they have to be clear, they have to be distinct, and these rigorous connections demand ultimate clarity in knowledge, and there must be a systematic order in building further propositions upon them. So, these are some of the ideals which Husserl assumes as starting points. And now philosophy cannot be founded on other sciences. See, once we think of philosophy, what is the foundation of philosophy? Where is philosophy founded? And Husserl says that it cannot be founded on other sciences, because he is against scientism, but philosophy should give other sciences a foundation. The role of philosophy is as a foundational discipline. It is not based on sciences, other sciences, or the methodology of sciences. It needs to give a foundation to sciences rather. And he could see that sciences as such, his famous book, The Crisis of European Sciences, which he has written later in a later period of his intellectual life. But this whole idea of sciences are in crisis we can find throughout his career. The whole concept of sciences are in crisis, this is because of the unintelligible foundations. Sciences do not have a firm foundation, and it is the responsibility, the cultural responsibility of philosophies to provide these foundations to sciences. Sciences on their part deal with physical reality, which in turn refers to the subjective world, because the physical reality are given to us, or we experience physical reality in the way it is given to us, to our consciousness subjectively. So, the subjective counterpart is very active. We have to really understand the role of this subjective counterpart, and also to show how subjectivism, quote unquote, can be avoided in our understanding and in our very concept of knowledge. We will see that philosophy must, according to Husserl, accept a radical position by going to the foundations of all knowledge, and the problems, method and theories of philosophy need conceptual clarifications. All these have to be provided by philosophy. Philosophy needs to give, it has to take a radical position, it has to clarify the fundamental theories and the methodologies. And in the absence of clarity, what will happen? Philosophy fails to provide knowledge and generates only opinions. The famous distinction made by Plato between knowledge and opinion. Knowledge is something which is universal, certain, objective, which we can rely on, but opinions are not so. They cannot be relied on, they will change, they are subjective. We can see the same distinction here also, that in the absence of clarity, philosophy fails to provide knowledge and generates only opinions. And here philosophy has to be considered as a science, because only science can provide you knowledge, but philosophy is unlike other sciences, it is not an empirical science, it is an ideal science. So, how to really conceive an ideal science is the real ambition of Husserl. Here individual sciences we can see deal with particular aspects of reality. Philosophy deals with the foundational aspects. So, again the foundational status of philosophy is reasserted, while other sciences deal with particular departments and aspects of factual reality. Philosophy deals with the foundations of even these other sciences and their intellectual enterprises. And philosophy is conceived, or phenomenology according to Husserl is a universal science which has absolute foundation. So, this is the progress, this is the whole program of conceiving phenomenology as a rigorous science with absolute, which has an absolute starting point. This absolute starting point is a foundation. We will see that what is this starting point and what is this whole concept of foundation in our subsequent lectures. And we can see that this philosophy, the phenomenology, is founded on a region of apodictic evidences which can provide justification for all science and knowledge. again we can see Cartesianism reappearing, that you need a foundation. Here also phenomenology, Husserl assumes or asserts that it is founded on a region of apodictic evidences which can provide justification for all knowledge, and it is not concerned with objective facts like sciences, it is not concerned with objective facts, but with ideal objects. And what are these ideal objects? These ideal objects are that which originate in consciousness. Something which originate in consciousness means something which is directly given to us, something which is immediately given to us. So if we can find a region, a domain where something is directly given to us, that can be the foundation for all that we develop. And the ideal objects are essences of things which constitute a world of their own. It is this world of the ideal objects which are going to form the foundation for Husserl. And here he calls for a back to foundations of all knowledge. We have to really go back to the foundations of all knowledge, to the things in themselves. These things in themselves will form the basis, and this is the original phenomena to which our concepts and ideas are ultimately referred to, and to the consciousness, and this is the consciousness of the knowing subject, the transcendental subjectivity. This is the fundamental basis of everything. Now we can see that there is always a region of apodictic certainty which we have mentioned earlier. The region of apodictic certainty is, it is determined by the immediate presence of consciousness to things themselves. This I have mentioned sometime earlier, that presence of consciousness to things themselves directly given to the consciousness, and these things themselves is the phenomena on which every knowledge is founded. It is the phenomena of phenomenology in which every knowledge is founded. That is the ultimate foundation of knowledge, and phenomenology or philosophy as phenomenology which deals with this phenomena is the foundational discipline. And of course, as I have mentioned earlier, they belong to the region of apodictic certainty. Now we will see this whole idea of freedom from presuppositions, because philosophy or phenomenology as conceived by Husserl, probably influenced by rationalist philosophers like Descartes, as a presuppositionless philosophy. And how do you really free yourself from presuppositions? Here we can see that the prerequisite of all scientific investigation, because it is only scientific investigations that provide us knowledge, that guarantee us knowledge, and the prerequisite of all scientific investigations is an ideal of certainty, because science deals with certain knowledge. Certainty is an ideal in science. Without certain knowledge, science cannot function. And here one has to really free oneself, exclude all assumptions which cannot be justified in terms of phenomenological intuition. So we have to be free from all sort of assumptions which cannot be properly justified by phenomenological intuition. So, and locate the essential structure of pure experience and their meaning. Once we can locate them, the essential structure of pure experience and their meaning, once we can properly locate them, that will form the foundation, and this is done in consciousness by Husserl. And now we will see Husserl's radicalism. Here this radical position adopted by Husserl assumed that it has to be free from all assumptions, and it is grounding of all elements of knowledge by intuition in the region of apodictic certainty. We were seeing how this grounding of all elements of knowledge in a region of apodictic certainty is being done or is being conceived by Husserl. This is what constitutes Husserl radicalism, and here we can see how he approaches, or he adopts a critical attitude approach towards natural sciences. The natural attitude adopted by natural sciences come into criticism by Husserl. Natural sciences, as we can see, assumes the physical existence of things without questioning them, that the factual world exists, just exists, that is they are not questioning how and all that. That is the business of philosophy. So this is the natural attitude which is adopted by the scientist, which has to be critically approach by a philosopher, if not by a scientist. So, Husserl is doing that, and it is here he places the method of rigorous science, the role of rigorous science, the method, where elimination of all assumptions concerning the existence in space and time and causal connection. We have certain assumptions, certain presuppositions about the existence of objects in space and time and the way they are causally related with each other. The causal explanation model which scientists adopt is based on this. So, the methodology of rigorous science, that is methodology of philosophy conceiving phenomenology as a rigorous science, presupposes this, that it has to eliminate all assumptions concerning the existence of space and time, objects in space and time and causal connections. Then once again eliminate the existence of the psychological faculties of the investigator. This is to really free oneself from the subjective aspect, the subjective feelings which are not intersubjective in nature. So, one has to free oneself from this also. So, we are now gradually trying to we are now gradually seeing more aspects of the presuppositionless philosophy of Husserl, and again no existence is assumed. He is not assuming the existence of anything except that which is given to the consciousness, our consciousness directly. And once things are given to the consciousness directly, later on he conceives the intentional structure of this consciousness and all that, and develops his philosophy later, but that is a later development. Right now this is the methodology of rigorous science, and again it is based on the intuition of essences, in which essences are grasped without reference to existence. The intuition of essences, they are grasped without reference to existence. So, this is what we do not have any assumptions, any presuppositions about the existence of objects which we experience. We can see he is echoing Hume here. Hume says that we have only impressions and impressions alone. We are not sure about from where they come from, or do they come from a world external to our human mind. All these things we are not sure about, we are only sure about impressions. Similarly here he mentions about essences, not impressions of Hume, in which essences are grasped without reference to existence, and essences can be seen and grasped directly. This is one peculiar aspect, they can be seen and grasped directly by the consciousness. And once again phenomenology is the science which investigates only essences and not existence. It is not concerned about existence of objects, it is concerned about essences, and what I repeat, essences here refers to consciousness or objects as they appear to consciousness, things in themselves as they are given directly. Now we will come to see how this essences are known, the knowledge about essences. Husserl says that this knowledge about essences which are again directly given to us, to the consciousness, this knowledge is prior to all sort of empirical knowledge. All empirical knowledge is further constructions upon them, they are the foundations, and we can see that they are grasped through direct intuition, unlike through any indirect means, they are grasped through direct intuition. And once again this is the phenomenological grasp of essences. This is what Husserl means by phenomenological grasp, where things are directly given to or grasped through direct intuition, and this is the most rigorous type of knowledge according to Husserl, because it is absolutely presuppositionless, it is direct, absolutely direct, and also not mediated through anything. So it has to be, and it is rigorous, the most rigorous type of knowledge. Now we will have a look at the ideal of knowledge, because this is another very important concept, notion, which is associated with the idea of philosophy and the very idea of conceiving philosophy as a rigorous science. It presupposes an ideal of knowledge where there are no unexamined assumptions. Husserl will not entertain any unexamined assumptions. All assumptions have to be examined properly, analyzed properly, and unless and until they find justification, they should not be entertained. And here there are no metaphysical or existential assumptions unless there is any clear reason for positing them. This is very important, because most philosophical systems and sciences have some metaphysical, they adopt certain metaphysical or existential assumptions, but in phenomenology that is not entertained unless there is any clear reason for positing them. And we can see that analysis of all elements of the structure of knowledge and reality. Phenomenology aims at this. All elements of the structure of knowledge and reality will be thoroughly analyzed. And now we will come to the concept of phenomena. This is again very central to phenomenology, because phenomenology ultimately deals with phenomena. This is the very term phenomenology is derived from this whole idea that it deals with phenomena, and we have seen what phenomena is. They are directly given to the consciousness. We have in the last lecture we have seen how Brentano has distinguished two types of phenomena, the psychical and the physical, the mental and the physical, and we have seen how Husserl has redefined this psychical phenomena in terms of experiences given to us. Here for in phenomenology, the fundamental phenomena is the fundamental data given to the consciousness. They are the essences of things as they appear to the consciousness. So we have to understand phenomena as the fundamental data given to consciousness, and also things as they appear directly to the consciousness. So this is phenomena, and as far as phenomena are concerned, we cannot assume that there is any unity among them. They are numerous, there is no unity, there is no properties, no real parts, no real changes, and no real causality. All these are unity, causality, all these are attributions. We might attribute them later, but when they are given to us directly to the consciousness, there is no such unity, no properties, causality, changes, etc. We can see that it is not a thing and it comes and goes. Phenomena is not a thing, they are not things, but they come and go. They have a ceaseless flow in the region of consciousness. The concept of consciousness, they appear in consciousness, they have a ceaseless flow in the region of consciousness, and all knowledge is about phenomena. We go from one to another. We have to establish connections and all that things later, but they are ultimately all knowledge are based on this phenomena which flow in the region of consciousness, and phenomena have no nature but have an essence which can be grasped. This is something again important. They have an essence which can be grasped by the consciousness. And what Husserl wanted to do is that the kind of approach he wanted to adopt is to take phenomena as they give themselves to the consciousness, to take them as they are given directly to the consciousness, have unconditioned and absolute being and are universally valid. They are, because once the consciousness takes them as they are given to it directly, then they are universally valid, and they are absolute evidences for absolute verification. These are some certain aspects of phenomena which Husserl elaborates. And phenomenology, we come to that, phenomenology is the foundational science as it unravels the phenomena of various fields of study in consciousness. So basically we can see that phenomenology is a study of consciousness in one sense, and we can see that phenomena is the basis of all knowledge. The next topic is phenomena is the basis of all knowledge. It is its flow in consciousness and presents themselves to consciousness. Take phenomena as they give themselves. This is the approach we wanted to adopt to consciousness with the mode of attention, and we are conscious of them, we intend something objective. So we have to make statements on the basis of absolute evidence derived from phenomena. They are the foundation of all evidence, they are the foundation of all knowledge, and we can see that consciousness also plays a major role in all knowledge formation. The consciousness constitutes the subjective part of knowledge. This is very important, because as we have seen in Kant, Kant's philosophy is placing subject at the center, his Copernican revolution. Similarly, in Husserl we can see the role of subjectivity reasserted with the concept of consciousness. It constitutes the subjectivity part of knowledge, and consciousness refers to something outside it, which is called intentionality or consciousness of. We will see this very important concept of intentionality in the next lecture, because that is very important, and rather we can say that that is the central one of the central concepts of the whole of phenomenology, the nature of consciousness, because everything, it is a region of apodetic certainty. Phenomena with which phenomenology deals with is based on, or sorry, it is given directly to consciousness. So consciousness represents a domain which needs very critical understanding as far as phenomenology is concerned. And to understand this concept of consciousness, another concept, the concept of intentionality, is also being referred to by Husserl. We will see all these in the next subsequent lectures. In today's lecture we have seen how Husserl conceives this whole concept of phenomenology as a rigorous science. We were widely dealing with this concept, what is the concept of rigorous science and how phenomenology can be conceived as a rigorous science. So students can take up certain questions from today's episode. Why philosophy is conceived as a foundational discipline? Number 2, how can we conceive phenomenology as a rigorous science? Number 3, what is the entire concept of, what does it mean or elucidate the concept of rigorous science according to Husserl? Number 4, what are according to Husserl the foundation of all knowledge? Number 5, describe the concept of phenomena. We will see this, we will continue with the concept of consciousness and intentionality of consciousness in the subsequent lecture, where we will see how this whole concept of phenomena is being understood or is being conceived as the basis and foundation of our knowledge. Thank you.